When you watch Forrest Gump, it seems effortless, a story of a simple man living through extraordinary times, with memorable lines like "Run, Forrest, run," and "Life is like a box of chocolates." But behind the smooth storytelling lies a story just as dramatic and compelling as the movie itself. Before Tom Hanks charmed audiences worldwide and before Robert Zemeckis directed one of the most beloved films of the 1990s, Forrest Gump had already faced countless hurdles that almost stopped it from ever being made. In fact, the film was considered unfilmable by many people in Hollywood. The rights to the book, written by Winston Groom in 1986, changed hands multiple times. Warner Brothers initially grabbed them after the success of Rain Man in 1988, thinking the quirky story might translate to film. But doubts quickly crept in. By 1990, studio executives were openly calling the story unfilmable. They worried that a movie jumping from the Vietnam War to Watergate, covering the counterculture of the 1970s, and featuring a lead character with limited intelligence, would be too confusing for audiences. The storyline felt episodic, the timeline jumbled, and executives could not envision a single cohesive film emerging from such a complex narrative. As a result, the project languished in development hell for 3 years before Warner Brothers finally dropped it entirely. It seemed as if the story of Forrest Gump might never leave the page. Yet, one person refused to give up. Producer Wendy Feinerman read the book in 1986 and immediately sensed its potential. She believed there was something special about Forrest's journey, but that conviction alone could not overcome the multiple rejections from Hollywood studios. Columbia Pictures flatly refused to touch the project, and several other studios hesitated, unsure of how to handle a story that was emotionally deep but structurally unconventional. For years, doors closed, studios rejected the idea, and the project seemed destined to fade away. But Feinerman persisted. She finally made a decisive push, hiring screenwriter Eric Roth and instructing him to rebuild the story from scratch. Roth worked meticulously, rewriting the script over several years, staying close to Groom's original vision, but finding a way to make it emotionally cohesive. The key to his approach was to anchor the story in Forrest's relationship with Jenny, providing the audience with a consistent emotional through-line. Roth's dedication turned what had seemed unfilmable into a script that studios could finally support. By 1992, he delivered the final draft, months before filming was set to begin. Even after the script was complete, challenges continued. Paramount acquired the rights in 1993 from Warner Brothers in a trade that many overlooked but was critical for the film's survival. Sherry Lansing, an executive at Paramount, recognized the potential of Feinerman's persistence and Roth's script, giving the project a home where it could finally be produced. Yet, casting proved another hurdle. Initially, Robert Zemeckis and the studio considered John Travolta for the lead role. Travolta declined, choosing Pulp Fiction, which went on to be a major hit, leaving the door open for Tom Hanks. Other actors, including Sean Penn and a variety of big-name comedians like Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, were considered. The studio even considered leaning the movie into comedy rather than drama. Hanks, who had just won the Academy Award for Philadelphia, read Roth's script in just 90 minutes and immediately signed on, bringing authenticity and seriousness to the character. Hanks committed fully to the role, mastering Forrest's Southern accent, learning subtle mannerisms, and even participating in grueling reshoots. The production itself faced a compressed schedule. From greenlighting to filming, only 4 months were available to finalize casting, shoot, and handle complex visual effects, including the integration of Hanks into historical footage. Despite these constraints, Zemeckis and Hanks refused to compromise key elements of the story. When Paramount threatened to remove major storylines like Forrest's Vietnam experiences or the shrimp boat subplot to save money, Hanks and Zemeckis threatened to walk away, eventually taking massive pay cuts and agreeing to back-end profit sharing to ensure the film remained intact. Their gamble paid off. Forrest Gump not only survived production but became a cultural phenomenon upon release, earning over $678 million worldwide and winning 6 Academy Awards. Among all the incredible feats during production, one of the most fascinating aspects is a tiny, almost invisible blooper in the Monument Valley running scene. Hanks and Zemeckis invested $1.5 million of their own money to cover insurance costs for this shoot, understanding the scene's importance to the film's emotional core. The sequence shows Forrest running across America, a moment that represents not just physical movement, but his emotional journey, grappling with grief, confusion, and personal growth. Yet, despite the extraordinary effort, careful viewers can spot a subtle continuity error. Forrest's shadow changes direction between shots, a result of using artificial lights to mimic sunlight during a multi-day shoot in a remote location. This tiny flaw, almost poetic in nature, serves as a quiet reminder of the immense struggle behind creating such iconic imagery. Even other scenes faced similar production chaos. The famous bench scenes, filmed in Chippewa Square, required multiple replica benches after fans repeatedly stole them during breaks. Continuity became a challenge, but these small inconsistencies contributed to the lore surrounding the film. Technical innovations were also groundbreaking. Industrial light and magic seamlessly inserted Tom Hanks into archival footage, allowing him to interact with historical figures like President Kennedy. Complex visual effects in the Vietnam sequences combined stunt work, practical effects, and computer-generated elements to deliver tension and realism safely. Every effect was carefully designed to disappear into the story, serving the narrative rather than drawing attention to itself. While the movie dazzled audiences and critics alike, it also sparked cultural debates that continue today. Forrest's intelligence, originally set at 70 in Groom's novel, was adjusted to 75 in the film, just above the medical cutoff for intellectual disability. This change, alongside other creative decisions, aimed to focus on emotional honesty and innocence rather than strict realism, but it prompted discussion about representation and disability in media. Jenny's storyline, which ends with her death from AIDS, also raised questions about morality, storytelling, and historical context, reflecting the fears and biases of the 1990s. Yet, these controversies have not dimmed the film's impact. Iconic lines like "Run, Forrest, run" transcended the screen, appearing in newspapers, commercials, sports events, and everyday conversation. The movie's gentle score by Alan Silvestri guided audiences emotionally without overwhelming them, and its timeless themes of resilience, love, and personal growth cemented its place in cinema history. Forrest Gump's journey from an unfilmable novel to a beloved, award-winning film demonstrates the incredible combination of persistence, risk-taking, and artistic vision. From studio rejections and near cancellation to casting gambles and groundbreaking visual effects, every challenge shaped the movie into the classic we know today. The tiny blooper in the running scene is more than a simple error. It is proof of the effort, struggle, and human dedication that went into every frame. While audiences enjoy Forrest's story on the surface, understanding the immense hurdles behind its creation enriches the experience, revealing a film born of passion, courage, and unwavering belief in a simple man with an extraordinary journey. When people think of Forrest Gump, they remember the heartwarming story of a man with simple intelligence navigating extraordinary events in American history. They remember Tom Hanks' gentle charm, Robert Zemeckis' direction, and iconic lines like "Run, Forrest, run," and "Life is like a box of chocolates." What many do not realize, however, is that the journey to bring Forrest to life was almost as dramatic and complex as the story itself. Before Hanks won his Academy Award or audiences were captivated by the running scenes, Forrest Gump faced years of near cancellation and constant uncertainty. The movie was widely considered unfilmable in Hollywood. Rights to Winston Groom's 1986 novel were initially acquired by Warner Brothers in 1988 after the success of Rain Man, hoping that the quirky, episodic story might translate well to film. But executives quickly grew doubtful. By 1990, people inside the studio openly said the book's narrative was too scattered, jumping from Vietnam to Watergate to the counterculture of the 1970s, featuring a protagonist with limited intelligence. Studio insiders feared audiences would struggle to connect with Forrest's story or follow the timeline. The project lingered in development limbo for 3 years before Warner Brothers dropped it altogether. It seemed destined never to leave the page. Yet, one producer refused to give up. Wendy Finerman, who first read the book in 1986, recognized its potential, believing the story had a unique emotional resonance. Despite repeated rejections from studios, including a flat refusal from Columbia Pictures, Finerman persisted, understanding that a story, like Forrest's, required patience and vision. Finally, she made a bold move. She hired screenwriter Eric Roth and tasked him with rebuilding the narrative from scratch. Roth's approach was meticulous. Over several years, he restructured the story to make it emotionally coherent, anchoring it around Forrest's relationship with Jenny. This gave audiences a through line amid the story's episodic events and allowed the film to retain its heart while becoming narratively cohesive. By 1992, Roth delivered the final draft, months before filming, setting the stage for what would eventually become a cinematic classic. Despite having a workable script, the production faced a series of formidable challenges. Paramount acquired the rights in 1993 in a trade that allowed the studio to finally greenlight the project, but the hurdles were far from over. Casting proved a difficult process. Initially, John Travolta was considered for the lead role but passed, choosing Pulp Fiction instead, which became a cultural phenomenon. Other potential actors, such as Sean Penn, and a rotating list of comedians including Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, were evaluated. The studio even suggested emphasizing the comedic aspects of the story, which could have shifted the tone dramatically. Ultimately, Tom Hanks, fresh off his Oscar win for Philadelphia, read Roth's script in just 90 minutes and immediately committed, bringing authenticity, depth, and emotional truth to Forrest's character. Hanks' dedication to mastering Forrest's Southern accent, small gestures, and idiosyncrasies proved crucial. The production itself was on a tight schedule. From greenlighting to filming, only 4 months were available to handle casting, locations, filming, and complex visual effects, including inserting Hanks into historical footage. This immense pressure extended to the budget. Paramount initially allocated $55 million, but cut it to $45 million, threatening to remove essential storylines such as Forrest's Vietnam experiences or the shrimp boat subplot. Hanks and Zemeckis refused to compromise, even threatening to walk away, and instead took personal financial risks by accepting pay cuts and back-end profit sharing to preserve the story. Their gamble paid off. Forrest Gump survived production, earning over $678 million worldwide and 6 Academy Awards. One of the most fascinating stories from the production involves the Monument Valley running scene, which required extraordinary commitment and creativity. Hanks and Zemeckis invested $1.5 million of their own money to cover insurance costs and protect the shoot, recognizing that this scene captured the emotional essence of Forrest's journey. The sequence, showing Forrest running across the United States, represents more than physical movement. It conveys his inner struggles, grief, and search for purpose. Yet, even with their efforts, attentive viewers can spot a subtle continuity error. Forrest's shadow changes direction across shots. This was caused by using artificial lighting to mimic the sun over multiple days in a remote, infrastructure-poor location. The minor flaw serves as a poetic reminder of the struggle behind creating something iconic. Other sequences faced similar logistical nightmares. For instance, the bench scenes filmed in Chippewa Square required multiple replicas after fans repeatedly stole benches during breaks. Visual continuity proved challenging, yet these imperfections became part of the movie's lore. The technical achievements in visual effects were groundbreaking. Industrial light and magic inserted Hanks into archival footage, seamlessly integrating him with historical figures such as President John F. Kennedy. The Vietnam sequences combined practical effects, stunt work, and computer-generated elements to ensure safety while maintaining realism. Every effect was designed to serve the story rather than dominate it, helping audiences feel immersed in history rather than distracted by digital wizardry. Even as the film amazed audiences, it prompted discussion and criticism. Forrest's intelligence, raised in the film to an IQ of 75 from 70 in the novel, sparked debate over how disability is represented in media. While the filmmaker sought to make Forrest relatable and focus on emotional honesty rather than clinical accuracy, disability advocates questioned why a neurotypical actor portrayed a character with an intellectual disability. Jenny's story also caused discussion. Her implied death from AIDS was viewed by some as reinforcing outdated moral narratives, though others saw it as highlighting Forrest's unwavering care. The film's treatment of disability shifted subtly from a medical to a social perspective. Barriers in society mattered more than the character's limitations, reflecting evolving attitudes. At the same time, the film's impact on popular culture was immense. Quotes like "Run, Forrest, run" transcended the screen, appearing on t-shirts, bumper stickers, sports commentary, and anti-bullying campaigns. Silvestri's musical score, with its delicate piano motifs, guided the audience's emotions without ever overpowering the narrative. The effect was profound. The audience felt the passage of time, Forrest's internal states, and the rhythm of his life, all without needing overt explanation. The combination of narrative, performance, and score created a cultural wave that extended far beyond the box office. The movie's commercial success was staggering. Released in July 1994, it faced stiff competition from Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption. Early skepticism about the story's appeal and the high budget, $55 million considered risky at the time, made studios anxious. Yet audiences responded immediately, propelling the film to $330 million in North America and a total of $678 million globally. It became the second highest-grossing film of the year, only behind The Lion King, and dominated box office charts for weeks. At the Academy Awards, it won 6 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Actor for Hanks, triumphing over competitors that had seemed more avant-garde or cool in Hollywood's eyes. The awards underscored the film's emotional and cultural impact, cementing its place in cinematic history. Beyond the accolades and technical achievement, Forrest Gump endures because it tells a story that resonates universally. It is about persistence, hope, love, and the human experience. It is a story of people, producers, directors, actors, willing to take incredible risks to honor a narrative they believed in. The tiny blooper in the running scene or the subtle differences in the bench scenes do not detract from the story. Instead, they are proof of the human effort, creativity, and passion required to make the magic happen. The movie's legacy also includes sparking cultural conversations about disability, representation, and morality, showing how storytelling can influence perceptions and dialogue. In every sense, Forrest Gump is more than a movie. It is an example of courage in filmmaking, a study in perseverance, and a testament to how passion can overcome skepticism, logistical hurdles, and financial constraints. From the moment it premiered, it became clear that Forrest Gump would leave a lasting imprint. Its technical brilliance, narrative strength, and emotional resonance allowed it to transcend typical cinematic boundaries. Small, nearly invisible details like shadow inconsistencies or replaced props serve as historical markers, documenting the struggle behind each frame. The combination of meticulous planning, risk-taking, and sheer determination enabled a story that was nearly